I met my partner in my 20s, and I won't go into detail of the relationship. It's about 10 years. So probably about 33, maybe. I think it might have been about 2014. Again, there was like emotional abuse and stuff. And now I know it as coercive control, but back then no one knew what that was. Splitting up with him, I thought, well, I'd set up my own company. I had my own brand. I was doing really well. I'd won awards for it, and I thought, this is fine. Me and the kids, because I had two kids by this point, will be absolutely fine because I'm financially okay. So I thought, so I split then, and I decided to split, and it was just like, no, that's not happening. What do you mean? And then it was like, oh God, it's really triggering this actually. Like, no, if you basically, this is long blunted down, but if you leave, I will destroy you. And I was like, yeah. So, but all my stock was at home because obviously I worked from home, and it was put into a storage container and held at ransom. So I couldn't fulfill my orders, a little business, whatever. But that was like my lifeline to kind of move out, and that was my job and stuff. And it was my only job at that point, because bringing up the kids, my daughter she was a baby, she was still on milk, and my son was very little as well. And it was basically like, I was like, what am I going to do now? Like, so you look absolutely fine, but things are happening. So obviously I don't know what he told this estate agent lady, but obviously she was a bit of, not aware of what that sort of abuse was. And, it was actually quite illegal what she was doing. So I ended up ringing Citizens Advice. I didn't know who else to turn to. A guy I spoke to told him everything, told him what was happening, and he went, right. And he rang up the estate agent, and I don't know what he said to her, but basically he rang me back and he said, I made sure that she knows what she's doing is not appropriate, it's not legal, and that it's not the case actually. And he gave me all the information of what I was actually, like, I was safe at, there was no arrears. So sorry, I'm shaking a bit. He didn't even know that she'd done that. He was not, he was a nice guy. He was like, just a normal like guy. And he said, I'm so sorry that's happened. Of course, you can stay, just let me know what's happening. And so what I did, I started looking for somewhere else. We were renting a house jointly with him together in the same house that I'd rented when my son was a baby. Just came up for rent, just for absentee, lived on the same estate, and my sister as well. And I was like, wow. So my dad gave me the 6 months up front, and it just gave me a breathe. And he said to pay it back, and then he just said, no, it's fine, sorry. So we moved back in there, and because I was such a good tenant, I didn't know at the time, but it was actually owned by the housing association, but they'd rent them out privately, essentially. So it was a lot safer for me and the kids to be in somewhere that was owned by the association. We lived there for a long time, while the kids, was the only thing that we had was the stability of the roof over our head. And obviously cost of living wasn't as bad then, so 2014 it was a lot easier. So the kids were little and everything was fine. But then thought, oh, we're settled, like, got to start again. Like, I didn't have my bit, I had to close my business. I didn't get it back in time. Everything went to pot. Then I thought, oh right, peace now. Then he started the court abuse and started using the family court to carry on the abuse. And wow, that was horrific. And that went on for about 4.5, maybe 5 years. It was absolutely awful. Um, and I've got a lot of like trauma from that. Obviously it's there. Even just talking about it is bringing up a lot of trauma. It really, and then all I did was work on myself, look after my health, help the kids or anyone. So I just did that. I kept the house was like a sanctuary for us. Hardly went out, to be honest. And I know people will say, sorry, like gaming, kids shouldn't be on the games and stuff. But honest to God, that was a lifeline for us, connected to people. Um, it took a massive, massive toll on me all those years of going through family court. It was like jumping through every hoop. I was on my own as well. They had a barrister. They didn't have legal aid then. They'd stopped it. I wasn't entitled to it. So I just learned everything I knew about law and everything. I didn't even know what type of abuse it was. I just I figured it out before there was even a name for it. And I just kept saying it's like someone's kicking you, but like there's no one there, and yeah, I couldn't tell anyone either because no one knew what was happening. Even after a bit, like my parents and everyone and my friends, they don't know what I've gone through because you can't see it. So it was work properly, because when you're in that family court system, they just tell you when to go, and it doesn't even matter whether you are away. If you are not there, they then I was threatened that if I didn't turn up, I will be classed as being awkward. So I had worry all the time about that. I was trying to tick every box, and then eventually, um, 2018, so you can see the timeline of how long this went on. It was like, I felt like it was just, I felt like I was in the twilight zone. It was just never ending. And obviously now I know that, people can get like, it's not PTSD, it's complex PTSD. You can't move on with your life. You sort of in limbo. So eventually, 2018, I was trying to put stuff in place for myself, in between. And obviously, we had a very, very lovely like home. Like I was doing a lot of work on myself, reading books, doing a lot of self work, therapy. I got a health coach, and that's what I actually am now. I'm a health. When the court did end, I think it was 2018. A couple of years, and I just got myself financially stable, and then obviously COVID happened. Basically, everyone says, "Oh, what it makes you stronger," but sometimes it's like it does make you stronger, but there's a lot of stuff there that yeah, it's it's not worth it. It's not worth getting stronger for having to go through that. So yeah, that was it really, and then obviously then it brings me to sort of where I am now in my 40s. So you're talking a full decade of, well, a decade before split, and then a decade basically of coercive control and manipulation. And it's only just really in the last few years calmed down. And I have a feeling it's something to do with that law passing, um, in April 2023. When I was in my 20s, I thought, was I naive, or maybe I was just, my worldview is completely different now. I have trust issues with certain authority. It's a little bit sort of full, but really, no, I'm struggling with that. I suppose it's still raw. It's still, I've not even been able to even though there's laws that have passed now, to me, it's just a tick of a box, and it's not really, nothing on the ground will actually be helping anyone, I don't think. I think the only thing